not unless they, like a minutes meeting?
No, look under,
Oh,
yeah. Joe's gonna talk about it.
We're ready for him, I think.
And if not?
Take
Dance?
a
Paul,
recess
Anne Marie,
for a
on
little
all
bit
day.
if you
Want me
want
to-
to wait a couple
You want me to do a dance again?
no.
I'd like to call to order the Village of Westmont Planning and Zoning Commission for Wednesday, July 12th. It's 7:01, and if I could have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Carmichael? Present. Commissioner Sharp?
Here.
Commissioner Van Buren is here. Commissioner Thomas? Here. Commissioner Bartel?
Here,
Commissioner Laveau?
Here.
And Chairman Pill.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. If you'd all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Normally, we would be swearing in at this particular point those who are going to give testimony either for or against a subject. Our applicants are en route, and we will hold off on that until they have arrived. And we will continue on with our agenda at this particular point.
Mr. Chair, your applicant's here.
Is this our applicant? Okay, great. Perhaps you could stand.
Sorry, thank you.
And since you're going to give testimony, there is a brief oath, and I would just ask that you raise your right hand and respond, "I do," to the simple, "Do you swear that your testimony will be the whole truth, so help your God?"
I do.
Thank you very much. Be seated. Please silence any phones, pagers. And while I'm talking, if you'd like, you can sign in on the clipboard up there, or you can wait till you go up there, either or. And I'll be calling you up in just a few seconds. All right. First order of business today is the approval of the May 10th, 2017 regular meeting minutes. And I'd like to just instruct everyone that as long as you've read those minutes, you are eligible to vote on those, whether you were at that meeting or not. So I will entertain a motion to approve the May 10th minutes.
so moved?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Bartel, second by Commissioner Sharp. Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sharp?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartel?
Yes,
Commissioner Laveau?
Yes.
Commissioner Chairman Pill.
Yes. All righty, the minutes of the May 10th, 2017 meeting are approved. I will also entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the June 14th, 2017 regular meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Carmichael, second by Commissioner Thomas. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartel?
yes,
Commissioner Laveau?
Yes.
Commissioner Carmichael? Yes. Commissioner Sharp?
Yes.
And Chairman Pill.
Yes. The minutes of the June 14th meeting are also unanimously passed. We'll now move on to old business, planning and zoning, item 17-012, the Ryan Companies U.S. Incorporated regarding the properties located at 700 Oakmont Lane, Westmont, for the following. A zoning code variance request to allow parking within the front yard setback. B, a zoning code variance request to increase the number of allowable signs. C, site and landscaping approval. This item was brought up last month, and we opened the public hearing and continued it. So I am going to go ahead and open the public hearing on this, and I'm going to read into the record the following letter. This is from Oakmont Point to Ms. Jill Ziegler, who is our Community Development Director. Thank you for the village's consideration of our submittal for Oakmont Point at 700 Oakmont Lane. Ryan Companies would like to formally withdraw the application and close the public hearing. Please do not hesitate to reach out with us. Sincerely, Kurt Pasco, the Director of Real Estate Development for the Ryan Companies. With this in mind, I will then close the public hearing on the Ryan Companies, and I will go ahead and entertain a motion to accept the withdrawal as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Thomas and a second by Commissioner Lavoy. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartel?
Yes,
Commissioner LeVeaux?
Yes.
Commissioner Carmichael?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharp?
Yes.
Mr. Van Buren votes yes, and Chairman Pill.
Votes yes. Planning and zoning item 17-012 is withdrawn unanimously. Moving on to new business, planning and zoning item 17-013, John Griffin, regarding the property located at 5809 Western Avenue in Clarendon Hills for the following. A map amendment request to rezone from R1 Single Family Detached Residence District to R2 Single Family Detached Resident District upon annexation. Good evening. How are you tonight, John?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, so we're looking to build a new residence there, and we want to have city water and sewer, so we need to incorporate, and part of the incorporation process is zoning. So we would need to zone, given our size. What is I apologize, the number again?
You default to an R1 zoning.
That's right, I'm sorry. Yeah, so we default to an R1 zoning, and I think it's because our width is under 100 feet. Both of our neighbors have the exact same width, and they are the R1 zoning as well, so we're just asking for that zoning.
No, you're going to.
Mr. Chair, may I clarify?
No, go
Sorry,
ahead.
they have the same lot size, I apologize.
Yeah, actually, I think you're looking, because you don't satisfy R1, you're looking to.
Yeah,
go
I'm
to
sorry,
R2.
exactly, go R2, yes. So we're under 100 feet, I think R1 is 100 feet wide, is that right, if I recall correctly?
R1 is 100.
Yeah, so we're 82.75 wide, so we would default to R2 because of the size of the lot.
Great, great. And there's plans to then build a new home on that property?
Yes, there are.
Good, good. All right, I will go to staff first.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll kind of fill in the blanks.
Sure,
So,
thank you. I didn't do a very good job.
This property is on the southeast corner of the village. It's kind of it's an unincorporated property. It's kind of bordering a little bit of Willowbrook, a little bit of Clarendon Hills. On three sides of it, it is Westmont, actually formerly on two sides, I'm sorry. To the north, it's zoned R2. To the south, it's zoned R1. Just to remind you, we had an annexation a few months ago, but I'll remind you of the process. The annexation, if it fits the R1 zoning, because every property, when it annexes into the village, if it fits the R1 zoning, which is the default, it does not have to come through the Planning and Zoning Commission for any recommendation. It goes directly to the board. When it cannot meet the R1 zoning, then staff works with the applicant to determine what the best zoning is. We look at adjacent zoning, we look at the typical lot conditions, we look at should it be a zoning, and then ask for variances to that zoning. In this particular case, there is two sets of zoning, R1 and R2. So we're not spot zoning by picking one. We're basically matching what's adjacent. So after talking with our attorney about what was the best way to do this, it was decided that matching the R2, because the lot does meet all the R2 requirements, that R2 would be an appropriate zoning for this. So what we're hearing tonight is the request to rezone from R1 to R2 immediately upon annexation. So what will still be heard by Village Board is the annexation. So providing that is approved, then at the same time, this planning and zoning recommendation for the rezoning would be heard as well. The actual lot itself, there's an existing home. John's lived there for quite some time, I think. He is also a local business owner. He owns a business over on Quincy, correct?
Yeah, 222 East Quincy.
I think you heard the special use for that a few years ago if you were on the board at
Yeah.
that time. The actual tear down and reconstruction of the house We asked the applicant if that is the intent to provide to us some sort of preliminary plan so we can at least do an analysis and determine if any other variances might be required. So that if there are other variances that need to be required, we can hear them all at once.
This is the time to do it,
So
right?
the applicant did submit some house plans that you have for review. We did a cursory review of those to see if any additional variances would be required. It appears that it meets all the requirements of that R2 zoning. So if and when the applicant does reapproach us through the permitting process to tear down the house and build something similar to this, it could be done with permits. And as always, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Joe, I appreciate that. Next, we will open up the public hearing on this, seeing that we have no one in the audience. So either you've got no friends or everybody likes the project. I'm not sure. I'm not going to offer an opinion on this, but seeing as we have nobody in the audience, we will close the public hearing, and we will start with commissioners' comments, and I will begin with Commissioner Thomas tonight.
Hello.
Hello.
Fine. What
very
we're here is not what kind of house you have or whatever, it's just go for the two that you're looking for, after the annexation to become R2, and I support that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sharp?
I also support, my only question for staff is what happens to the two lots that are now encompassed in Westmont?
Formally, and the attorney can correct me if I state anything wrong, the village does have rights to force annex those properties. That is not the village's intent. There are other pockets within the village that exist similar to this, and the village has not pursued any kind of forced annexation. If these properties were to redevelop, and actually they're both for sale, we do foresee them redeveloping sometime in the future, we would kind of piggyback the annexation with the redevelopment is the current concept on that.
Okay. No other comments?
Thank you. Commissioner Bartel?
I'm also very supportive. I have no questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Lavoy?
Yes, I have a few questions, not necessarily for the applicant, but maybe for our village attorney and for staff. Does this come along with any kind of annexation agreement?
To date, we don't have one, to my knowledge, and there hasn't been a request for anything.
I did consult with our attorney, and it was John Zemanek, who is our typical attorney at these meetings, on the requirement for an annexation agreement. He stated that the only time that we would require an annexation agreement if it was a large plot of land where a developer was kind of promising certain things to happen based upon the annexation. He indicated that in this situation, since it was a single-family residence with the only intent is to be a new single-family residence, that no annexation agreement was required.
Okay. And my backup question to that is that on the materials issued to us, it shows that the annexation is limited to the right-of-way on the side of the street as the address is. Is that going to go to the middle of the road or on the other side of the road?
Usually runs to at least the middle of the road, and that's where it should end up. I'm not sure about some of the boundary agreements that we may have at this point.
And I don't have an appropriate answer for you either. I have seen in this area that typically it goes to the other side of the road. I don't want to conflict with you, but I think in this case that the village owns the majority of the streets north and south of this, so they're already under our maintenance. Even though these are unincorporated right now, I think it is under our maintenance as well. I might be misspeaking, but the plat of annexation has not yet been properly prepared, which is part of what is required to get before village board. So it has not yet been reviewed by our staff or our legal counsel. But that will be forthcoming as part of the annexation.
Okay. And the reason for those two questions leads me to my third question, and that is the improvements to the street. Would the applicant be required to upgrade the street to the local standard being annexed? For example, the curb and gutter, the drainage, is there anything that would be required by the village to do that? And that's really why I asked about the annexation agreement. We have different types of curbs out there. We have ditch drainage. We have barrier curbs out there. And it's kind of a mix of everything along the right-of-way. and if the annexation goes to the middle of the road, would the applicant be required to upgrade the curb and gutter?
We did have our engineering staff review this, and they indicated that the annexation would not trigger any improvements that were needed. But if there was a new house construction, there were potentially things that would be required, such as a public sidewalk, just like your neighbors, I think, to the north have, potentially bringing the public sidewalk.
Right.
They haven't made the full determination of what they might require, but at this point, they said that the annexation for engineering and the improvements was not triggering anything.
Okay. And the actual water main is on the other side of the road from this property. So it's something that, we kind of cross in no man's land there for a distance, and I'm not sure if it's appropriate to go to the center line, but it should go to at least the center line, I would
But
think.
it should go at least, but I think sometimes if there is a water main on the opposite side,
There
it
is.
will go all the way. I was just unaware of that. I don't know that there's any redevelopment going on at this point, like Joe has
I
indicated.
don't know
It's just
either.
the
I just wanna-
annexation.
I know even annexation is not our purview tonight, it's only to go to R2, but I just thought I'd throw it out there that there are some things that could be addressed in the annexation plat. Also, my last comment or question is related to the density of the trees. It looks like your neighboring property, both to the north and to the south, have several trees that overhang. Clearly, the trees are on their properties, but they overhang into your lot. It looks like it's going to be a conflict with the proposed house. So that's something that, just as advice to you, that you might want to take a look at that to see if you can minimize that impact.
Sure.
Because I'm sure that they're not going to be happy with, them, hacking off, pretty good-sized branches off of their tree, so.
The trees that are in concern right now are all actually my trees. The only trees that would be even trimmed up that are my neighbors are just along the driveway, and
On the driveway.
I continuously maintain them, so.
Okay.
They're limbed up enough for a car to pass, so they shouldn't come into conflict with the house. But the forester, we've kind of, I own a landscaping business, so I'm trying to preserve the trees. In fact, there's one in particular that I'm trying to preserve as much as I can, but we were still, it's pinched between two houses, and one house was built 10 years ago, so that's probably the tallest spruce on the block. So I'm doing my best to preserve it, but I don't know if, I don't want it also toppling on the house and, hurting
course.
anyone. So we're trying to figure that out, but my intention is definitely to preserve the trees for sure.
Like I said, it has nothing to do with our concern tonight about going from R1 to R2 at all, I'm just giving you a
Sure.
comment.
I understand.
Yeah, I have no other questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Carmichael.
I think those are really good questions, Chris. Welcome to the board.
Yeah, thank you.
I just have one. I'm just curious about, you have an existing well on the property. Will you fill that in, or what?
Yeah, unfortunately, that is one of the things that I'm not happy about, but yeah, we have to, according to Westmont, according to,
DuPage, too. DuPage County.
well, the IEPA, but actually, see, I don't know all the rulings on this, but who is the engineer? I can't think of his name right now.
Noriel?
Yeah, Noriel Noriega. He told me that we had to fill it in for sure. I'm kind of a green guy, and I'm not really happy about that because I do believe that I should be able to use it to water my grass. But, according to the IEPA, it's supposedly not to code, although I know they drill wells in Hinsdale, and he doesn't, I don't know. We're filling it in no matter what, so I guess that is what it is. But I don't think there's any really bend on that.
Okay, thanks. Well, I wish you luck with the
Thank you, I
project.
appreciate it.
And thank you, Commissioner Van Buren.
I noticed that there are a couple non-conforming issues there with the buildings on the property and also with the driveway. You are taking that in, considering that this will all be removed and that with the new construction, so there's no date or any time set on this?
Correct. The annexation, what we were trying to do is list the existing nonconformities. So if the applicant never builds the house, we would treat it like any other legal non-conforming thing that exists on a current lot that we have today. So basically, as long as it's there and it's maintained, it's okay. It's when you go to change it is when we invoke the bringing it up to current code. So if he did pursue the home plans as shown, everything was shown, meeting setbacks, meeting the requirements. I think the house actually sits in the same locations as some of the outbuildings. Not to say he couldn't have outbuildings later or get variances for other things, but as it's shown, he doesn't have to make any changes as long as there's no construction. It's the construction that invokes us looking into the pre-existing conditions and the legal nonconformities.
Welcome to Westmont, and I hope you build that home that you've, or something like it, demonstrated here.
I hope so, too. Thank you.
Thanks. So far, pretty much all of my questions have already been asked, and I just wanted to compliment you. The drawings of the home are beautiful.
Thank you.
That's a gorgeous structure. I can't wait for the open house and the big party and everything. We'll all be there.
All right, awesome.
That's great. No, I wish you the best of luck, and welcome to Westmont also.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great. Any comments or questions from you? No? Anybody else?
All right, thank you.
All right.
I have one
Since,
other question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Would Clarendon Hills be a signator or be in the approval process for the annexation?
I'll turn that over to.
To my knowledge, no. It's in an area that's already been predefined in agreements with Clarendon Hills and Willowbrook, because it's kind of like at the.
There's a boundary agreement which is
There's a
shown
boundary
on.
agreement that.
That's where I was going.
That is, it's
And they
considered,
outlined it on these, which came the month before you.
Yeah.
it's considered part of our
get you
planning,
one.
planning oversight, because it's already been predetermined that when it does annex into the village, it will be ours, not Clarendon Hills. So I would assume that those agreements that are in place authorized that. It is something that will be examined as part of the plat of annexation, so.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we do not have a variance and we do not have a special use, so there are no readings of the findings of fact for tonight's item. So we will proceed, and I will entertain a motion for planning and zoning item 17-013 for the property located at 5809 Western Avenue for a map amendment request to rezone from R1 Single Family Detached Residence District to R2 Single Family Detached Residence District upon annexation.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Van Buren and a second by Commissioner Carmichael. Do we have any comments, questions, or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bartel?
Yes.
Commissioner Laveau?
Yes.
Commissioner Carmichael?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharp?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
And Chairman Pill.
Yes. So you have our approval and our recommendation, which will move on to the Board of Directors, to the Village Trustees. And Joe will coordinate with you and tell you when the next meeting is and which agenda you'll be on. And you'll have a short presentation like this, and they will make the final vote on it then. Thank you so much. Welcome to Westmont. Best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
All right, moving on to miscellaneous items. Do we have anything from our distinguished staff?
Just in front of you tonight, there was a second copy of the economic development update that was included in your packets. There were a few minor changes, so we just wanted to get you the minor changes that were put in
Really
there.
appreciate that, by the way. Really good.
I give all that credit to Jill. Jill puts that together. And then there's also there was a presentation today at Economic Development Committee. There was just extra copies of that project that was presented, so we just went ahead and handed those out so you could have those and look at those. And then the last I wanted to mention, I do have a copy of the Illinois chapter of the American Planning Association every year puts on training. Last year, we had, I think, 3 commissioners that took advantage of, there's one day of what they call Planning Commissioners Day training, and basically it's a full day of training. We want to offer that opportunity to anyone that would like to go. If you want to go again, having gone last year, you're welcome to that. And then provided how many people sign up, there may be some funds additional to partake in the 3 days of training. So there's lots of sessions, lots of classes. Right now, they haven't published what those sessions or classes are, but once those are out and you take a look at them, if you want to partake of some of those or all of those, we can get a one-day pass, we can get a 3-day pass depending on what you're looking into. So for those that did take the planning and commissioners class last year, if you'd rather branch out and take some other classes, there may be some opportunities there. So once you look over that, if you just want to email me with your interest, we can go from there and see what's in the budget for it.
Great.
That's all I have.
Great. I have 2 items I'd like to just bring up quickly. First of all, this is Taste of Westmont Week, so Cass Avenue has already been shut down. And for those of you at home, we hope that you'll come out and have a great time this weekend. It starts out with the kids' evening tomorrow night, which is Kids-a-Palooza. And there's $20, I think, wristbands for the kids for tomorrow night. And then the full Taste of Westmont opens up at 4 p.m. on Friday and continues through the weekend. So it'll be the 3 blocks of Cass Avenue north of the railroad tracks to Chicago. And there's bands which are free. There's no admission charge. You just pay for food and drinks throughout the weekend. And the weather forecast looks phenomenal. A lot of this humidity is supposed to cut out by tomorrow morning, and we should see a great weekend. So I encourage everybody to come out for the Taste of Westmont. Secondly, I'd also like to make sure the commissioners are aware that we have a celebrity in our midst here tonight. Joe has just recently been promoted to village planner, and that is a significant step in his career path. So I'd like to personally offer my congratulations. You do a great job of putting our stuff together. I've seen you interact with a lot of prospective businesses as well as homeowners in our village, as well as homeowners coming into our village. And I just want to thank you for a great job and congratulations on becoming the village planner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
All right. Anybody have anything else they want to bring up? Any announcements? Craig, did you have something you were going to say?
You make the chairman look good, Mr. Planner.
Very nice. Thank you for that. We appreciate that. All right. Seeing we have nothing else on our agenda for tonight, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas and second by Commissioner Sharp. Roll call, or all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Joe, what's, John Griffin, what's his business?